Are you seriously fired up about growing as a leader in business or church-based ministry? Are you feeling somewhat frustrated about not having realized your full potential in what you've been called to do? Could you do with someone to help you get some extra clarity or to be a sounding board for your plans and ideas? Great athletes have coaches, so do great leaders. The right leadership coach for you will result in an increased sense of clarity, direction, and purpose, dramatically increasing the results you achieve. If you're ready to step up, contact Errol to book a free, no obligation introductory coaching session and see whether Errol is the right coach for you. Errol takes the lessons learned from his own leadership journey and from his extensive research to help leaders and entrepreneurs to step into their biggest challenges and rise to their next level. Email admin@errollawson.com right now to schedule your call.
Hello and welcome again to the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast. It's me, Errol Lawson, and we're all the way from the Marriott Hotel here in Florida for the John Maxwell Conference. And with my special guest today is Ivan Meisner. Ivan is the founder of BNI International. Now, everyone's heard of BNI. Everyone knows what BNI is. You know, where I'm from in Birmingham, there are so many BNI chapters. I've actually sat now with the man that actually started BNI, which is now a global organization. And Ivan, it's great to spend time with you, sir.
Thank you so much. When we met, now what Errol didn't say is when we met, he was like the founder of the beginning, the very first, the very first. So, for years, CNN years ago said he's the father of modern networking. And for years I was like, well, at least they're not calling me the grandfather. And then Forbes just came out with a thing saying the granddaddy of networking. I'm like, oh, man. All right,
the father or the grandfather of modern networking. How powerful is this, man? Ivan, before we kind of go into our chat, give us a glimpse into what you're up to in the world right now and a bit of your bio.
Yeah, well, I started BNI 33 years ago. We now have 8,319 chapters in more than 70 countries around the world. Wow. Last year, we passed 9.1 million referrals. Wow. We generated $13.1 billion US dollars worth of business for our members. Wow. Wow. So it's all about helping people increase each other's business through referrals. Wow.
Yeah. And what's the origin story? How did you get into? What were you doing before you started BNI?
I was a management consultant.
Okay.
Yeah, business consultant. I studied organizational behavior at the University of Southern California. Dr. Warren Bennis, who was the world's leading expert on leadership before a gentleman we both know, John Maxwell. Yeah. And by the way, if you don't know, Errol is with I'm sure they know, you're with the Maxwell organization. Yeah. That is absolutely the number one leadership coaching and training organization in the world. Yeah. If you haven't talked to Errol about, he doesn't know I'm going to say this, if you haven't talked to him about the Maxwell coaching he does, you got to talk to him because there is no better content today than Maxwell's.
Thank you, man. Yeah. Thank you. So, so you're a management consultant.
Yeah, right. So I was looking for referrals.
Okay.
They don't teach us how to do this in school. I had years of college and I didn't know how to network. So I put together some people I trusted, they trusted me, and I just wanted to refer back and forth. And we started that first group. It was working really well, but someone came to me who said, I can't join, because in BNI we only take one person per classification, right? So hers was represented. So she said, would you help me open up my own group? Okay. And I actually said, no, this isn't what I do. I'm a business consultant. Wow. And she said, well, it's kind of consulting. You're helping me build my business. Wow. Like, yeah, okay. So we opened a second chapter. Wow. And a couple dozen people came. 2 couldn't join because of a conflict in classification. Right. And they both said, this is awesome.
And the light bulb came on, right?
And it was like, well, no, not yet. Okay. I actually said to them, no, this isn't what I do. I'm a business consultant. But they made the same argument. So I said, okay. So at the end of the year, I had 20 groups. Wow. By accident. Wow. It was not by design.
By accident,
It really was. Yeah. Wow. But here's the thing.
Is it just accident?
It was for the first 20. It really it was. Okay. But it wasn't after that. Okay. Because what I did was between Christmas and New Year's every year for decades, I've taken a few days to all week to reflect. Right. Okay. To say, hey, look, where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be by the end of next year? How did last year go according to plan? Well, that year I spent the whole week thinking, what happened? My plan I went a completely different direction.
Right.
And then it struck me that the difference between pull marketing and push marketing. You know, push marketing is hard work.
Yeah.
You're pushing and pushing.
Yeah.
I was being pulled through the marketplace.
Right.
I had struck a chord that I hadn't expected.
Right.
And I realized at that point, I'd better pay attention to this.
Now they're coming to you, right?
They're coming to me, and that's unique. Consulting was push marketing.
Yeah.
BNI I was being pulled through the marketplace. So it was at that point that I created my plan.
Right.
You know, and really created the vision for the kind of organization I wanted.
How did you define it? What was your pitch at that time?
Well, I can tell you that it's evolved. Our vision statement has evolved into changing the way the world does business. That's our vision statement.
What was it then, though? What was your first pitch?
Well, it was really about our core principle, our principal core value,
Right.
giver's gain.
Okay.
It really, you want to get business, you got to help other people get business.
Right.
And so if you give business to people, you'll get it in return.
Yeah.
And that was the primary focus, which has ended up becoming our principal core value as an organization, which is, you got to understand it, in 1985, that was really weird because people used networking as a face-to-face cold calling opportunity. Right? I'll give you an example. I spoke in London. You're from the UK. I spoke in London a few years ago, 900 people in the audience. I said to the audience, I said, how many of you are here today hoping to, just possibly make a sale? Errol, 900 people raised their hands.
Wow.
Everybody raised their hands.
Wow.
It's an all-day thing. I said, great, second question. How many of you are here today hoping to, maybe possibly buy something? No one raised their hand. Not one single person. So this is what I call the networking disconnect.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, people show up wanting to sell, nobody's there to buy.
Right.
So this whole concept of giver's gain flipped that on its head. It's like you want to sell something, great. First, build a relationship. Help someone. If you help someone, you build a relationship, then you're going to get business. That was, that was mind blowing back in 1985.
Was there along your journey? Was there ever a turning point? Maybe you were heading in one direction with this whole vision for the business, and then something happened, a transition, a light bulb moment maybe that caused you to go in a completely different direction. Can you tell us that story?
Other than that first time and that first year where I really ended up going in a different direction, I think it was mostly. Look, I ran into roadblocks many, many times.
Sure.
But to take me a completely different direction, not too many.
Sure.
Because what I try to do every year is create that plan.
Right.
And you get off plan at some point because life gets in the way and it takes you in a slightly different direction. But I have to
tell us about that plan.
My strategy was to go national and to do it within, to be in all 50 states within 10 years.
Okay.
So we came close, but we also went international, which I never expected.
Okay.
And also as part of that plan was to franchise. I wanted to create BNI, not that first year, but soon after.
Okay.
As a franchise. So here's an example of the kind of planning I would do. Okay. I did an organization chart. At the time, I had 2 part-time people, both working half-time. So I had the equivalent of 1 employee.
Okay.
For my consulting and for BNI. But I wanted to build BNI. So I did this organization chart of 15 different people or positions.
Right.
What I did was I took the equivalent of that 1 person and me, and I put us in those boxes.
Okay.
As to what we were doing. So it was Ivan Misner, CEO. Ivan Misner, Director of Marketing. Ivan Meisner, complaint department. Ivan Meisner, janitor, right? And I put the ladies in the other boxes that they were doing.
Yeah.
And my goal was to get out of, within 5 years, to get out of all those boxes.
Wow.
Actually, 5 to 10 years was the plan.
Wow.
To get out of all those boxes.
That's great.
But 1.
Which was
CEO,
right?
Yeah. I just wanted to be the CEO. Now, what I discovered, now here's where things get off track a little. But again, it was a little. What I discovered after 5 years, I was pretty much there, but I didn't realize there were positions that would be needed that I hadn't thought of.
Okay.
So even though certainly by 6 or 7 years, I was out of all the boxes except CEO,
Okay.
now there are boxes that I never anticipated.
Okay.
Like, IT coordinator.
Right.
Well, by 91, 92,
That's a big.
you had to do some IT, even though it was much smaller. I had nobody. So, it was Ivan Meisner, IT coordinator for BNI. So that's where all the planning in the world, you gotta call audibles and discover things. But I've run into massive roadblocks.
What's been your biggest leadership challenge?
Well, I think getting everybody to row in the same direction on new projects, particularly projects that cost money, is a challenge, especially when you're talking about franchises, because it's locally owned and operated. My number one challenge in BNI, hands down, has been, go back to IT, it's been taking our system, which 10 years ago was all manual. So we did the first 20, 3 years or more.
It's paper-based.
Paper-based. Yeah, probably 25 years paper-based.
Yeah.
So it was in 2010, so 8 years ago, we started transitioning to digital. Now, we had a lot of countries that they had a digital program, but they all had different ones. So now you got to get everybody onto one program. And it costs money.
And training everybody at every level.
Well, that was down the road. Just getting them to agree to do it.
Really?
It's like, no, I want my program. No, I want my program. No, I want my program.
Right.
Everybody wanted their own program.
Oh my goodness.
And so getting everyone to agree on a strategy.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, when I was 14 years old, my mother gave me a paperweight. It's on my desk today. It's on my desk today. 14 years old. It says, diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way. She said, honey, I love you. You're a bull in a china shop. You will run people over. You have got to learn how to be diplomatic. You got to learn how to work with people.
Right.
And so I think that was really a classic example of...
What was the lesson you learned in that?
Well, the lesson I learned was how to work through a challenge like this with people who are very heated and very strong in their opinions. Yeah. So to get them all to agree to do one program was difficult. But here was the big challenge. That wasn't even the big challenge. I thought it was the big challenge. Here was the big challenge. I released the program. It sucked. It was not what I promised.
Wow.
That was the big problem.
When was this?
2012.
You say you released the online...
The platform online was released by 2012.
Right. Globally? Or...
Yeah, globally.
So there's no pilot? No,
yeah, no.
It went straight out everywhere.
It went to almost everyone.
Okay,
yeah.
and what happened?
Oh, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. I mean, they just wanted to kill me. They were so mad. And so I really thought long and hard, because we're having a conference come up. And there was no place to hide, and I knew they were going to be. They're going to have me cornered.
Yeah.
So I really thought things through. I read a couple of books. Here's one of them is Crucial Conversations.
Okay.
I really recommend that.
Is that Bill? Not Bill.
Yeah, it's like 4 co-authors.
Okay.
And it's about how to deal when people are really upset or when the stakes are high.
Yeah.
Really good book. I recommend it. Yeah. So. What I did was I took some of the things from there and I created a strategy, came up with some of my own ideas, and I decided what they needed to vent. They were mad, and they were right.
Right.
Okay? So what I promised wasn't what was delivered.
Right.
So I had to throw myself on the sword publicly. So, but you can't do that with hundreds and hundreds of people. So I had a smaller group of about 30 people. We call it in BNI, it's the Founders Circle.
Yeah.
So I brought them in. I said, you're going to be able to talk as much as you want about our program. And so I brought them all in, and I said, tell me everything that's not working. Don't leave anything out. Errol, for more than 2.5 hours, they beat me up.
Wow.
I mean, it was one problem. So what I did was I took a flip chart.
Yeah.
And I wrote every single thing down. Everything that's not right. And I started with saying, look, I know this isn't what I promised. We're going to make it right. So that's one of the things that when you screw up, you got to throw yourself on the sword and you got to make it right.
Right.
So we're going to make this right. I will pay for this fix. Tell me everything that's wrong. And so page after page and every time we did a page, I taped it to the wall.
Right.
So my goal was to wallpaper that room.
Wow.
We wallpapered that entire room. There were hundreds of items, and what would happen is they would get tired of
pounding.
Yeah. And they'd get tired, and I knew there was more there, and I said, okay, what else is there? What else? I kept saying, what else? And so they'd give me a couple more.
Great information.
What else?
Great information.
They'd give me more.
Priceless.
Finally, it was really completely quiet.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. A week from now, no one in this room can come up to me and say, well, I really had a couple of other things, but I just, there was so much I didn't want to add it. You can't do that. So if you got it, you got to share it right now. Oh man, the gates opened up again, And so I got all kinds. We wallpapered the room. And by the time we were finished, it was easily 2.5 hours of that. Wow. By the time we were finished, they felt heard. They were heard. But they felt heard. Doesn't matter whether they are or not, they got to feel it. And they felt it.
That's great.
And so I said to the group, okay, are you guys open to an idea? And they're like, by then, sure, because I have said nothing, and I wasn't defensive. I didn't argue with any of it. Whether I believed that was an issue or not, I didn't argue. I said, here's my idea. Let's take this list of hundreds of items and let's triage it. Let's pick the top 20 and start with that. Not finish. We'll just start with that. And let's create a project board. People that have some expertise, and many of you are in this room, we'll put them on the board, and you guys pick. I won't pick. I'll have no say on what's most important. You have a say. You pick. You do the first 20.
Gave ownership to.
Give ownership to them for the fix. I paid for it. I did that, but they took ownership for it. And you know what, Errol? They were reasonably forgiving. They really were.
Good.
They were like, okay, all right.
How did you feel afterwards?
You know what? It was a turning point for me. You're asking for like turning point. I'll tell you where it was a turning point. I went into that conference thinking this could be the worst week of my professional career, or it could be the most memorable, positive week of my professional career, and it ended up being the most positive week of my professional career because I let them vent.
It's great, man.
And
so crucial.
And by the way, we're now fully rolled out.
And it's working.
Program is awesome. There's still stuff that can be done, always tweaking. But I can't imagine running the business today without it.
Wow. I just want to ask you the question I asked you earlier before we started the interview today about the advice you give to your 30-year-old self. People who are listening right now, they've got different people listening from around the world. Some are going to be BNI members. They go, wow, Ivan. Some are young leaders they're listening and they're thinking, they're hearing your impact and the global influence you have, and they're thinking, how do I connect the dots between where I am now and where I believe that God has called me to be? Maybe around the age of 30 or so. Yeah. What advice would you give to your 30-year-old self?
Yeah, so I would say two things. One is you're very persistent. Don't lose that. Persistence has paid off for me, but diplomatically, it's that diplomacy at the same time. Be a dog with a bone. Yeah. Work things through. At the same time, don't go too far in terms of particularly worry. Once you have worked it out in your head, release it. As much as possible, release it. And I probably could have been better at releasing some of that anxiety about, it's not finished. It's got to completely get worked out. And so I think I would let it go. And we talked a little bit about this. You said, well, what would you do? Yeah. I think I would, I really didn't do meditation years ago. I think I would absolutely, key into either the spiritual side or the meditative side, which is oftentimes the same, and spend more time doing that just to center myself and relax a little bit.
And obviously it's been a long journey, right? Our friend John Maxwell here talks about the secrets of your success being hidden in your daily routine. Yeah. What do the first 90 minutes of your day typically look like?
Well, my day today is way different than it was 33 years ago. Yeah. My goal for many years was to really be working on the business, not in the business. And I tell people I'm a 20-year overnight success. It took 20 years to build that. But even up until it was really recently that I really made the transition to be doing just the things that I love. So my first 90 minutes generally are kind of making sure that I've got the schedule for the day probably in 30 minutes. And then I'm very driven by my calendar in the sense that I schedule stuff. Right. And I really live by my calendar and I color code it. I color code it for things that I want to be working on and things that I have to work on. And so anything that is a shade of green are the things I want to be doing. And so it's gotten to the point now where my wife will say as I walk out the door, because I've kind of gone full circle. I started BNI in my house, and my office is back in my house, and our headquarters is in another state.
Wow.
And so my wife, as I walk to my office, 53 steps away from the house.
You counted.
I counted, yeah. I believe in metrics. Metrics are important. So she said, do you have a green date today? And she knows that means that it's a day that I want. It's because I think an entrepreneur is either working in their flame or working in their wax.
Right.
And when they're working in their flame, they're on fire, they're excited, they love what they do. When they're working in their wax, it takes all their energy away. And so for me, my flame is being the spokesperson for BNI, speaking, doing interviews like this. And so those are the kinds of things that are in green. So red is like, talking to the lawyer. That's bad. That's red. Tax man, yeah.
Another thing Janet said to us is that there are people who have high aspirations, so really high aspirations, but really low habits that don't align. What are the key habits that have contributed towards your success?
So I tell people all the time, look, you want to be successful, do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times. Let me repeat that. You want to be successful, do 6 things 1,000 times, not 1,000 things 6 times. And I see business people all the time. They're constantly chasing bright, shiny objects, and they do 1,000 things 6 times. One of them doesn't work, and they go, this doesn't work. So number 7, I'm gonna try something else, and then I'm gonna try something else. And by the way, it doesn't have to be 6. It can be 5. It can be 7. It doesn't matter. But you do a handful of things, and again, it comes back to that dog with a bone. Served me well. Do 6 things, and do it 1,000 times. Now, what 6 things? Well, that varies. Depends on
the person, right?
Well, it depends on the person. Depends on the business. Depends on what you're trying to achieve. It depends on the business model. There's a lot of things that come into play. But go to mentors. This is one of the reasons why a coaching program like what you guys provide is so important. Is that you want to have a coach that can help you identify what those 6 things are. And then once you identify those handful of things, then you just got to do it over and over and over and over again. And when you do that, you really have a good shot at being successful.
I've got 2 more questions for you, Ivan.
Yeah.
You've worked with thousands of businesses and business owners. What are the top, say, just the top 3 mistakes you see that businesses who are trying to grow and scale? What mistakes are they making?
Well, I've given you the one,
which is
6 things 1,000 times.
Scattered.
Yeah, that's number 1. That's always the big one. I think another one would be is they don't know their numbers. They really don't know their numbers. And when you start talking to people about their numbers, I know my numbers. No, you got to get granular. You got to really know your numbers. And we were talking earlier. As of yesterday, BNI has 8,319 chapters. We have 230,132 members.
Wow.
Okay.
Jeez.
I get a daily report.
Okay.
Not a weekly report, not a monthly report, not a quarterly report, not an annual report. I get a daily,
sent to your
5
phone.
days a week.
Wow.
Sent to my phone, sent to my computer. I know exactly what my numbers are. I can tell you what the numbers are by country. If I really wanted to drill down, I could tell you what they are by the region of BNI. You've got to know your numbers.
Okay.
If you don't know your numbers, you can't control where you're going. Sometimes you don't even know if you're in trouble. You don't even know if you're in trouble until you know your numbers.
Right.
So you got to get really granular with your numbers and know them.
Okay.
At the same time, let me go to the other end of the spectrum. You got to stay connected with people. You can never lose sight of how you got there.
Right.
And the way you get anywhere is with people. And so you have to have regular, for me, it's like regular touch points with the people I work with. Either call them or I'm a real believer in Tom Peters' concept of MUMBA, management by wandering around. You wander around. Maxwell has the same concept, uses a different term, but same idea. You wander around, you meet people, you talk, you ask them how they're doing. You catch people doing something right.
Yeah.
That's Ken Blanchard. Catch them doing something right, not something wrong.
That's good.
So on one hand, the metrics, on the other hand, the people.
Right.
And you figure out the things you need to do, and you do it 1,000 times.
Any other mistakes that you see them make? One more mistake?
Mistakes. Well, with the people thing is that they lose sight of their people.
Right.
So when I say it happens, they start getting big and they start creating. I'll give you an example. I bought an office building before we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. I had an office building in LA, and the owners that I bought the building from it was a husband and wife team, president and vice president. They had a hallway that connected the two of them so that they didn't have to go out of their office because they might meet staff and they wanted to be able to just walk back and forth to each other. And the first thing I did when I bought that building was I walled off that hallway because I did not want to get in a situation where I'm bypassing everyone. You got to stay connected with them. I just had someone here say, "Hey, look, Ivan, if you don't want to walk down the center, we got a back way that you can go out of." I'm like, "Yeah, no.
I want to connect, right?"
Well, yeah, you know, you got to walk the talk.
Sure.
And so if you build your business with people, then by God, you've got to be willing to meet people. So that's the mistake on the people side. The metric side you got, and then the 6 things 1,000 times.
So what's the one thing you're most fired up about right now?
I think I'm most fired up about the fact that I have plenty of time to follow my passion, to do the things that are my flame, like this, podcasts, interviews. I would also say writing. You know, I have a chance to really work on some books. I got 2 awesome books that are in the works.
Because I know you beat cancer, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Did a book on that. Healing begins in the kitchen.
Yeah. And that's a whole other story, guys. Like we've had a chance to kind of connect before this conversation, and just to hear the amazing journey that Ivan has been on. I recommend the book. Go and get it. Healing Begins in the Kitchen.
Correct.
How else do we find out about you? Do you have any social media handles or website? How does someone find out about the work you're doing in BNI? I've never heard of BNI. Where do they go?
Yeah, well, BNI.com, obviously. If you want, I've got tons of content free up on ivanmeisner.com. That's my blog.
Okay.
It's not a it's not a pitch site. It's not a funnel. It's just my content. So I got a lot of content up there on ivanmeisner.com. So I'd go to those. You can also Facebook. I'm really active on Facebook. So you can find me at facebook.com/ivanmeisner.bnifounder. So it's Facebook, ivanmeisner.bnifounder.
Fantastic.
You can stay on top of all the stuff that I'm doing.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And just last word is a word of wisdom from you for a young entrepreneur or leader that's listening right now. Just talk to them. They're thinking about growing and being impactful. Just a last word for them.
Well, let me do it from a networking perspective.
Sure.
Since that's really the wheelhouse. I would say, that old expression, and I've seen it in almost every English-speaking country. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Right? You've heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not either. I would say it's not what you know or who you know. It's how well you know each other that really counts. Because networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. It's about cultivating relationships with people, and as you cultivate relationships with people, you do business with people. And so it's not just how big is your contact list. Who do you know? It's who do you know that you could pick up the phone, call, ask for a favor, they'd take your call, and they would do the favor. Well, that only comes with a relationship. So it's not just who you know, it's how well you know them.
Brilliant. Ivan, thank you for your time today, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Errol. Bless you, man.
My pleasure.
Thank you again for joining us today on the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast. I pray you've been inspired, you've been lifted, you've been encouraged to take your personal leadership to the next level. We really encourage you guys to just take action, make it happen, do something, start somewhere, go out and change the world in some way, big or small. Guys, if you've enjoyed the podcast today, please share with your friends, share with your loved ones, your colleagues, someone out there you think might benefit from hearing this great content. And if you want some more questions answering, you got a question, email me, Errol@errollawson.com. Or if you want a free 30 to 45 minute coaching session with myself around a leadership challenge or issue you're working on in your business, your church, or in your organization, please feel free to email me right away or get you booked in. It's Errol@errollawson.com. Thank you again for listening. Go to our iTunes page, check it out, check out the previous episodes, give us a nice review, that would be awesome. Really appreciate if you could do that for us. We really appreciate you just for being here and listening. Thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Rising Generation.